Imagine this, you're an action figure designer in the year 2001. Following the September 11 attack, you decide to write a song and form the best goth punk band of the decade. This is the life of Gerard Way. Years later, Nick Lowe, the editor of the X-Men, offered Gerard the opportunity to write an annual for the series. However, after a meeting at New York Comic Con, the project never materialized. Following the release of his latest album As a Tantalian, Gerard was approached again by Lowe, now editing for Spider-Man, who offered him to write a new and unique Spider-Person. Gerard accepted and was ecstatic to team up with Jack Wyatt, together creating the Japanese-American icon Peni Parker, also known as Spider. A big explosion goes off in the sky above the city. Spider had just died. His daughter is brought into a room where she meets Aunt May and Uncle Ben, who tell her that they will take care of her, and that if she wants, she can take her father's place as Spider. This is followed by a clinical and intimate series of panels, detailing the bite and the psychic link between Penny and the Spider. 5 years later, Mysterio is attacking the city in a giant floating orb that releases hallucinogenic nerve gas. Spider is sent into action with Penny piloting it. For the first time, we get a full look at the suit, adorned with stickers, changing the classic blue to yellows with the vague shape of a spider constructed from the grooves in the metal. The entire page is dedicated to showing how the suit functions and articulates, with the highlight being the healed legs. May briefs Penny on the villain, and in return she asks for some music. Spider crashes into Mysterio's bubble, but he sprays her with neurotoxins, causing her to panic as she starts to hallucinate. May commands her to disconnect her optics and let Spider take control of the mech. Mysterio enthusiastically takes pictures of the city's protector, giving Spider enough time to regain control and defeat him with one punch. Customary for Mysterio. The orb crashes and we get an amazing look at the Spider suit as Penny descends on Mysterio, who turns out to just be a nerd who wanted to meet his hero. At school, we discover that Penny is classmates with the cast of Evangelion. Daredevil interrupts the class and requests Penny to join him. Mysterio decided to rat out his former accomplices, likely due to an unhealthy admiration, as police found the walls of his room covered in pop magazines featuring Spider. Before going to fight the criminals who assisted Mysterio, Penny and Dee sit and talk about her father. Dee says that he was calm, and he never had a lot to say, which is unusual among spiders. There was a sense of sadness inside the armor, but Dee thinks he was pretty cool. They move on to bust the criminals, showcased through a series of vibrant, colorful panels. Penny asks if her father would have liked her, and Daredevil responds, yes, very much. Penny takes a train home, sharing it with Miss Marvel, an older version of Peter Parker and Mary Jane, Oya, and Gerard Way, the singer of As a Tantalian. Her survival instincts kick in, keeping her frozen in place as everyone else runs for their lives, when a pig dressed in a Spider-Man costume and an old Spider-Man greet her. They explain that the group is going around hunting spiders, whether they are girls, boys, pigs, cats. Spider trusts them, so Penny agrees to join, asking to suit up before they leave. Together, they leap into the Spider-Verse. Okay, some explanations are needed, but before that, I'd like to point out that Daredevil's inclusion in the story only happened because Gerard insisted that if he was going to write an issue for Marvel, it had to include Daredevil. Penny's Spider-Mech is piloted by her from the inside, but she is not alone in her missions. Her father's spider, named Spider, accompanies her and can also control the suit. Additionally, May and Ben operate a control room where they monitor the suit and communicate with Penny while she's in action. Just to clarify, Spider refers to the mech, the actual spider, and Penny's superhero name, all spelled the same. Returning to the Spider-Verse, most of you are probably familiar with the movies, which are amazing and we will get to them, but for those unfamiliar with the comics, Spider-Verse is an event where a group of energy vampires called the Inheritors hop from universe to universe in search of spider totems to eat. These are people with a connection to spiders, usually having been bitten by one, so Spider-Man, not Black Widow. I firmly believe that comics are often made out to be more complicated than they really are. But in this case, the movies are so much better. The gist is that multiple groups of spider people organize to defeat the Inheritors. Penny was created to add a unique spider to the story. Her first appearance is in Edge of Spider-Verse number 5, a series meant to introduce and reintroduce unique spider people for the main event, which is ironic because she barely appears in it. The following images are the only pages she appears on in the Spider-Verse event. 18 pages and one cover, not enough to fill a single issue. There are a few standout panels, such as glimpses of her head behind the main character and even a scene where she gets humiliated by one of the villains. I won't lie, I am a bit mad. I love her design and she's incredibly unique, but probably because of that, she gets relegated to the background, breaking up the sea of Spider-Man. Plus, she is too articulated to be drawn fully multiple times in every issue. The result? Not enough spider for me. Around the same time the Spider-Verse ended, a mobile game called Spider-Man Unlimited was released. Basically a Subway Surfer but with Spider-Man. It featured countless spider-themed heroes such as Black Cat, Wraith, and J. Jonah Jameson. Arguably the best one. And it included Spider. Sadly, the game shut down in 2018. Going back to the comics following the events of Spider-Verse, the Web Warriors, a team made up of spider people from multiple universes, was created to help universes that had lost their Spider-Man. Spider wasn't part of the team, but at the end of the series, during the final battle against an army of multiversal Electros looking to take over the multiverse, she arrived to fight against them. She appeared in 2 panels and looked amazing. But one great thing we got from the series was this amazing cover by Jorge Molina, featuring a full-body spider, which I want to praise. In an issue of the Spider-Gwen series, an alternate universe spider was brought to help Gwen and Miles by another Gwen Stacy. Later, another alternate universe spider was summoned to help Cable fight against the Cosmic Ghost Rider, a future dead Frank Castle from another universe, and an entire can of worms I won't get into. The only difference with all her other variants is that she dies here. Leaving behind the trend of having Penny appear as a backup for 2 seconds, she was also a playable character in the game Marvel Super Hero Squad Online, an MMORPG that shut down in 2017. She was also a playable character in Marvel Puzzle Quest, or at least as much of a playable character as there can be in a Connect 4 style game. Penny had little to no appearance outside of multiverse stories, so when Spider-Geddon came around, it was expected to see Spider again. She made a comeback in Edge of Spider-Geddon number 2, a follow-up to the Edge of Spider-Verse series, with Gerard Way returning as the writer. This time Jack White only drew the cover and Alberto Jimenez Albuquerque was the artist. At school, following a class about neuromechanics, a girl named Addie Brooke tries to confirm if Penny is indeed the pilot of Spider. Penny tries to keep her secret identity and answers angrily as she goes home with a spider on her shoulder. Addie shouts at her that she is not unique and that they could have been a great team. At home, Penny asks Ben and May if she is special. They have trouble responding and sound like they are reciting a mission briefing to her, so she runs to her room. In a lab at Oscorp, Penny and May work on the spider suit. Penny sees Addie in the hallway and follows her, only to find out that Addie is the new pilot of Venom, a new mech that doesn't require a connection with a spider to operate. Alarms go off. Penny suits up to fight Morbius, a giant kaiju that siphons energy off the city. She is instructed not to kill Morbius, as Oscorp wants to study it. Jumping into the fight, Spider severs Morbius' tendrils from any nearby electricity, rapidly and efficiently, until Morbius gets a hold of her when she tries to web him up. It drains the electricity from her suit, throwing her aside. Ben decides there isn't enough time and sends out Venom. If Spider did good, then Venom is on another level. It cuts off Morbius' tendrils and overpowers him, becoming more and more violent. Ben and May command Eddie to step aside and not kill Morbius, but it's too late. Morbius is dead. Eddie replies that she lost control as the suit starts to take over her, showing consciousness and refusing to return to the lab because they would destroy it. May decides to fly to the scene to enter Venom to disarm it. If she fails, the suit could blow up and take both Venom and Spider out. As she enters, she sees Eddie begging for help as the suit takes over her. Venom starts to consume Eddie, moving on to May as she tries to pry her out of it. Ben manages to reroute power to the spider suit, but only for 5 minutes. Venom attacks her, Lunging like a mad dog and knocking Penny down, it is faster than Spider, carrying weapons that Penny lacks. Penny gains an advantage, only for Venom to tell her that Addie and May are no more. She loses her composure and Venom starts a relentless attack. In a last-ditch attempt, Penny uses her web shooters and glues Venom to a nearby wall. She opens it up, only to find only wires inside. Ben brings Penny coffee, but she doesn't drink it. She apologizes, saying that her father wouldn't have let them die. Ben says that he doesn't know that. After her father died, he was scared to be a father, and May tried to push him to take responsibility, but he resisted, because Penny reminded him of his greatest failure, her father. They sit in silence for a moment, only for a familiar-looking pig in a Spider-Man suit to invite Penny to a multiversal event, again. Ben tells her that duty calls, and she jumps into Spider-Geddon. This leads me to my previous rant about Spider not receiving enough screen time. In Spider-Geddon, the inheritors from last time escape and work to resurrect their leader, making the story a lot simpler, but it works in its favor. Penny only appears in 12 pages and one cover, this time also without the suit. And the only thing I got from her appearances is that no one at Marvel knows how tall the Spider suit is, so they mostly draw it chest up. Look at these two, you can't convince me they are the same size. For those waiting, we have just arrived at Into the Spider-Verse, where a group of Spider-Men are accidentally transported to Miles' universe when Kingpin uses a multiversal machine meant to bring him a replacement wife and kid from another universe. Penny is one of the Spider-Men in case you didn't know. She plays a minor role in the story, mainly fixing a device Miles broke and looking good in fight scenes. On repeat viewing, the movie continues the frustrating trend of not having enough Peni Parker. Her voice actor Kimiko Glenn does an amazing job, and her design is fantastic. She is smart, cute, and funny throughout the movie. It's a shame that she only appears for less than 5 minutes. Penny closely resembles her comic book counterpart, though she is more cheerful and energetic in the movie. The biggest difference is the spider suit, which replaces the articulated body with a streamlined design. It features a more circular cockpit that allows Penny to sit, with limbs connected by magnetic levitation. While I prefer the original design, the new one is full of charm and I wouldn't want to replace it. If you take a look at the concept art, the suits transcend to another level, with so many amazing designs ranging from cute ones by Shion Kim to dystopian futuristic designs by Yashar Kasai and full-body tank-like mechs by Von Ling. My favorites are Tony Sirono's designs. I love spiders and these designs are amazing. Also, I apologize if I mispronounced any of their names. Back in the comics, Miles is jumping from universe to universe in the third Spider-Verse book. He ends up in Penny's universe in issue number 3, written by Jed McKay and drawn by Dyke Rowan. Miles arrives just in time to help Penny recover a severely injured Daredevil. An invisible assassin hunts them, throwing bombs and causing the spider suit to degrade. The assassin reveals he was dead but returned for Spider, asking why she doesn't remember him before setting off another bomb, forcing the suit to reboot. Penny tells Miles to focus on Daredevil while she confronts the assassin, who reveals himself to be Kraven the Hunter from her universe. Miles throws punches but Kraven dismisses him, claiming he doesn't fight children. Penny takes control of the spider suit and begins to fight Kraven. Miles goes to help Daredevil. Meanwhile, the mastermind behind Kraven's resurrection intercepts Spider's communications. Nathan Essex, a vengeful weapon manufacturer targeting Ben and the Spider Project. Kraven continues his assault until the spider suit needs to reboot again. He demands to see Spider's face, prompting Penny to leave the suit and say that Kraven doesn't attack children. He pauses, giving Miles the chance to return and incapacitate Kraven. Meanwhile, Nathan Essex, furious, warns Ben that he will keep sending assassins, men with metal hands, silica blood, lethal touch, and some who can fly. Ben disconnects his earpiece, looks at a photo of May, Penny and himself, and wonders what he got himself into. In the first issue, Penny appears for a moment, and at the end of the series, she joins Miles for the final battle, appearing in 6 extra pages total and 2 covers beside her feature issue. Normally this would bother me, but given the series includes an amazing issue fully dedicated to Spider's universe, I will let it slide. Following this series, we didn't see Penny for a couple of years, appearing only in the video game Marvel Contest of Champions as a playable character wearing an amazing looking armor. The game also featured a trailer with two other Penny variants, one from the Japanese Spider-Man show universe, and another from a world where she got her powers from a magical animal in an alleyway. We arrive at the release of Across the Spider-Verse. Penny briefly appears as part of the Spider Army supporting Miguel O'Hara. She later leaves and joins Spider-Gwen right before the end of the movie. She dons a new suit that's reminiscent of her comic book design, but it's barely shown. I wish there was more to say about her, but that's pretty much it. Surrounding the release of Across the Spider-Verse, a couple of companies remember that Penny is popular, and she started getting more appearances. She became a playable character in the board games Marvel Champions and Marvel United. She was added as a card to the mobile game Marvel Duel, and going back to the comics, she starred in a story in Marvel's Webtoon in the series Spider-Verse Unlimited issues 7 to 14, written and drawn by Ken Imura. The story takes us back to Penny's universe, Earth 14512. It begins with Penny at school feeling sad that she can't connect with her classmates about the popular TV series The Tony Stark Show. At home, Ben shows her the new spider armor, designed similarly to the one from Into the Spider-Verse, with floating limbs and a screen for a face. Penny excitedly asks her father if she can watch the show. Ben agrees, but only if she finishes her homework first. After a couple hours as the show begins, the murderer is about to be revealed when Ben barges into the room. He urgently informs her that Spider is needed. The atomic lizard, the Godzilla-like monster, is on the loose. Penny quickly suits up into her new armor and jumps into action. Penny uses a reactor booster to rush to the atomic lizard, defeating it with a precise hit to its nuclear cores. Afterwards, she quickly heads back home, only to hear the credits on the TV. She feels sad again, unable to bond with her friends over it, as she's always missing out on such moments because of her duties as Spider. The next story in the series dives into Spider's abilities from Penny's perspective. She reflects on the need to keep her job as Spider a secret. This is a bit contradicted by Oscorp sending Daredevil to pick her up from school in her first appearance, but I guess that's not important. She reveals that her best friend is Spider, the actual Spider, and that they have formed a psychic connection after the bite. They pilot the Spider suit together, acting as co-workers and best friends, and most importantly, they share a love for green tea mochi. The story continues as Penny is assigned to write about her father, but she struggles because he died when she was just 9 and she barely knew him. Ben gives her a hairpin that was a gift from her dad, which motivates her to continue her assignment. Later it's revealed that Ben took the hairpin from his co-worker, because as it turns out, her father had bought her an identical one years ago, but Ben had lost it. He took the hairpin from the co-worker to replace the one he lost and show her that her father had loved her. In the final story, the last episode of the Tony Stark show is about to air, and Penny tells her classmates that she can't wait to see it, even though she hasn't watched a single episode. Her classmates are excited to see another fan and invite her to watch with them. At their house, the girls sit down to watch the show with bags of popcorn and drinks. However, once again, the show is interrupted before the big reveal as a giant mech, Mecha-Doom, tears down the walls and takes the cast hostage. It's revealed that the show is both filmed in front of a live audience and aired live. Ben calls Penny to quickly return home and help stop Mecha-Doom. She arrives on stage, lunging at Mecha-Doom, only for the mech to catch her in mid-air and begin crushing the armor. Penny loses control as Ben, going against his boss's wishes, urges her to abandon the spider armor, telling her that he has already lost too much for the program and that he prefers to save her over his job. Knowing she can't expose her identity, Penny pulls a popcorn bag over her head, ejects herself and her spider from the suit, and reveals herself as the Popcorn Knight. Mecha-Doom chases her while Spider enters the giant robot to damage it from within. It manages to cause significant damage just as Penny is cornered. The pilot of Mecha-Doom tries to escape, but Penny is there to knock him out. The crowd cheers and Penny heads home. Back at school, Penny is exhausted, but delighted to find out her classmates are happy to see her, telling her that she had missed all the fun with Spider. The story concludes with a recap telling us that Penny can do whatever she wants. Enjoy being a student, spend time at home with her uncle, or be the hero in the spider suit. But whether outside or inside it, she is Peni Parker and her story has just begun. These stories in the Spider-Verse Unlimited series are delightful. They are more aimed at children than her other stories, but it's good to finally have an ongoing story about her. But good things don't last. While Penny's story had just begun, no one continued it. Her next appearance is at the end of the Spider-Verse, where she barely appears. Midway through the story, her design and height are mixed up, changing from the articulated 9 feet slender design to a gigantic, multi-story high, bulky one. This shows again that no one actually knows how her armor should look. Her last appearance is in the children's book Spider-Ham: A Pig in Time, where she appears as a pig version of herself for one panel, signing off Peni Parker's appearances for now. Penny and Spider are a unique and fresh idea among a sea of similar Spider-Man, and it's a shame we don't see more of her. This video was inspired by Lumi's web. His work is amazing. He probably could have done a better job, but I have very little patience and I need more recap videos. So until next time, keep reading comics. No new comics that include her have been announced. We'll probably see her again in the next Spider-Verse related story, standing in the background looking cool and possibly playing a medium role in Beyond the Spider-Verse, which has been postponed indefinitely until further notice. Listen, this script was written back in March, and a lot has happened since then, both in my life and for Penny. Except for the last part, we still don't know when Beyond is coming out. Be sure to expect another video covering the past year, including Marvel Rivals, Marvel Snap, and her comic book appearances.